Hi, and welcome to the Dizzy Red Panda podcast, a podcast about all the crafting projects that make us dizzy with excitement. This week we have knitting, machine knitting, a tiny little bit of invisible crochet, and kind of sort of sewing, but not really.
Okay, that sounds like an interesting mix that we're going to get up to today. I'm Katie. I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, aka the place of the blizzards right now. And I'm known on Ravelry and Instagram as Nerdy in Plaid.
I'm Cheryl, just outside of St. Paul, Minnesota, where we had rain in late December earlier this week, on Ravelry as Red and Instagram as Red Knitter.
Show notes and links can be found just in the drop box below, and as always, if you have any questions, let us know too. Mm-hmm. I want to start with, we're coming off of the holidays. We're kind of in that Twixmas, so that between the holidays. Did you have a good holiday?
I did. Well, we need to say that, like, this isn't the Christmas episode, but, like, it is the Christmas episode. Come on. Yes.
I feel like I'm very Christmassy right now, though I usually don't dress in Christmas colors because I've got the red lipstick, which looks very, very red on screen.
It does.
And it's really not as bright. And then I've got the green going on. So, yeah, full Christmas spirit.
Mm-hmm. Just keep it going. No, I had a great holiday. We stayed pretty local in the Twin Cities metro area because that's where most of my family is. And the holidays with a toddler are so much fun. So much fun. He had way too many cookies. He got to tear around with his cousins who are older than him, but he likes to try and keep up anyway.
Of course.
Actually, second cousins? My cousin's kids, and also some of my cousins. I've got some big spread out families. So that was super fun. And then just, like, the presents. Oh my goodness.
And ripping open things and...
Yes, we love opening presents. We love everything we got. Like, oh my god, shirts! I got shirts! Like, the joy on this kid's face, it was amazing. And then on top of that, he got a ball pit.
Oh my god.
Like, an at-home ball pit from my sister, and that is a pretty good gift for a 2-year-old. If you're looking for a gift for a 2-year-old, ball pit, that's the gift.
Just as much fun without all of the noise.
Right. How was your holiday?
My holidays were pretty good. So I have a very small family, so I spent Christmas Eve with my parents. They were going back and forth to church. So I cooked dinner, which was nice. And then we went down to the cities for Christmas Day and the day after. I didn't tell you, I know, because like we were there for like 24 hours. I know. We did manage a trip to IKEA though. Oh,
I see where I rank. Below meatballs.
Okay, so part of my parents' Christmas gift to me was a shelving unit from IKEA and help putting it together. I feel like that is really a sign of adulthood when you get like super practical things and help putting them together. So it was a nice low-key Christmas, and so I really enjoyed that.
Awesome.
Yes. What are you wearing today?
Oh, so you already saw it, but I've got like just this really quick cowl out of leftover fabric from a buffalo knit button-down shirt that I made for my husband a few years ago. So just really quick and easy, toss a seam in it, finish the edges off with a serger, and it's a cowl. And I've been wearing it a lot this winter.
It looks very, very cozy, which I feel like we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am wearing wool socks, but I'm not going to show them off.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not going to do that. But to go with my green buffalo plaid, they're a bright neon rainbow because I'm believing matching today.
Love it.
All right. What kinds of things have you finished?
I've finished one kind of thing.
Okay. That's excellent. Progress is progress.
One kind of thing. Sorry, it is full of lint, apparently. I still need to block it and put buttons on it, but I'm calling it finished, so I'm just gonna
that's so pretty.
Yeah.
I love how that turned out.
Here's the Anders pullover that I've been working on for the past few episodes now. So I think it'll get some cream buttons just to
Mm-hmm.
match the bottom of the sweater. So that's what I'm thinking. So I've already talked about this a lot. I just had a couple more things to say today. I wanted to show, earlier I talked about the braid.
Yeah. Oh, that shows
Yeah.
up really nicely.
Yes, you can actually see it in the cream. So the braid also happens in navy at the cuffs of the sleeve
Oh.
at the neckband, but it's really hard to see even in real life. But here you can actually see the braid because it's in a lighter color. And you can also maybe see that these stitches right on the next row, so this is a top-down sweater, so the row following the braid are quite loose, and I don't think that's going to fully block out. I don't know, it's not the end of the world, but it's enough to annoy me. So.
Well, to consider, I would say you are the knitter, so you're going to notice it.
Yeah.
I'm doubting that your son is going to notice it, look at his sweater and be like, Mom, what is going on here? And I doubt any other person will say that, will notice that.
No, you're probably right, but I just feel like it needs to be said because it's bothering me. So now I've said it. I feel better. It's off my chest. And I don't think it was anything that I did because it's just like the way that you do this kind of braid is going to loosen the stitches. I don't know if there's any way around it. Maybe there is. If there is, and you're someone who knows, let me know in the comments, please.
I also think I don't like my 1x1 rib as much as like my 2x2 rib. And I think what happens is my gauge changes. And so I feel like my knits are much looser in a 1x1 rib than should be. So I often will flip it inside out after I'm done with a ribbing.
Nice.
Well, that's if I'm doing like a bottom up hat, obviously, like not with a top-down sweater. But so that might just also be the nature of the rib though too. And switching. Yeah. Did you switch needle sizes going from the braid to the rib?
I'm pretty sure I did.
So that might also have to do with it.
I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe I switched needle sizes before. I don't remember. I'd have to look at the pattern. I did what the pattern said. Okay, so speaking of the pattern, I have some thoughts on the pattern. This is a really popular sweater pattern. A lot of people have made this sweater. I am not thrilled with it.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Why?
Let me tell you why. Okay, adorable, right? Mm-hmm. Adorable color work. Nothing wrong with that color work. Love that. However, I knit the size 18 to 24 months for my son, who is currently 23 months and a little bit small for his age. So I felt like that was pretty good. The sizing is only based on a chest measurement. There is no schematic.
Oh.
And that's a problem because it is a top-down sweater and you have a giant block of color work at the bottom. So if you need to make this shorter, you would have to like either figure out with your gauge how long it's going to be, which is obnoxious, or you're going to have to rip it back, which is obnoxious. So like there should be a schematic for this sweater is what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Yes.
I think they're very, very helpful.
Yeah, and it's a sweater. Like, I know it's a kid sweater, and I'm normally not too worried, I guess, with sizing for kids stuff, because it's like, it'll fit at some point, or it'll fit another kid, or whatever. But this was kind of like this was a fair amount of work. I wanted it for pictures this year, and it turned out way too big. So, I got gauge. It was supposed to be a 24-inch chest, which would have been a little bit roomy on him, but not like overly so. Mine turned out to be 26 inches.
Oh, that's much different.
Yeah. So what the heck is that about? So there's like, okay, well, if it's going to be off from what gauge told me I would get and the pattern told me I would get, then a schematic doesn't even help me.
Right.
Because like, something's wrong with the math. And then the last thing, and then I'll stop complaining about this pattern. But you can maybe see that the sleeves are just straight.
Yes.
There is no shaping to these sleeves. And that's fine when you're knitting a baby sweater for, the first 6 months to a year. But when you get into toddler sizes and they're really active, I don't know if this is a great shape.
Oh, got it.
For this age. Like, at some point you need to switch over to a shaped sleeve. I think. So if I were to do this again, I would probably add some shaping. I was trying to just like get it finished. So
because you were on a time crunch.
right, which is now no longer relevant. So that
That's
doesn't.
too bad.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I have one more thing to complain
Okay.
about. And that's that I used nearly 50 yards more than the pattern called for, and I nearly ran out of yarn because of it.
I know. I remember you texted me about that.
Yeah, it was really close. Like, I had weighed my navy yarn before knitting the first sleeve, knit the first sleeve, weighed it, and I had exactly half. So I was like, I really hope that I can pull this off. So it was very close. And like 50 yards over.
I think that's a significant difference. Did you look at any of the project notes that other people had left?
I can't remember. That's something that I normally do before I start a project, and I can't remember if I did with this one because I've been a little bit
busy?
Lazier about that sort of thing.
I was going to say busy. I was going to let's go with busy.
Well,
sounds better.
That's true too. Yeah, so I left a bunch of project notes to that effect, and I didn't give this pattern a great rating because I'm pretty unhappy with how it turned out. Like, the colorwork pattern is super cute, but the rest of it, not too pleased.
And especially if you're, my general view of kids knitting is that, they'll grow into it. But when you are making it for a specific kid at a specific size, I can see how that would be not so great.
Not so great.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have something better to tell me?
Well, it also has its own gauge issues. I would say I'm not the greatest person to talk about with gauge right now because... Okay, so I finished... This was basically the machine knitting project of how not to do a project.
Oh, okay.
Let's learn. I machine knit a blanket for my aunt, and she requested it like back in July. I couldn't start it until essentially finals were done because we were still deciding on yarn color choices, and I couldn't find... She was looking for a claret. I was going off of pictures, and it's a weird color to begin with. Let's just go with that. So, and she was having her living room redone, so she was finalizing those choices. So I didn't get the last color of yarn until right before Thanksgiving, which then heads into the super busy point of the semester for me. So it was just a lot of timing things. So then I went to go make it, and then I don't do random. I can't do random. It has to be a well-planned random, which then it's not random anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. So here's the color palette that I did. So I have a dark navy, a light gray, like a federal blue, and then I have this really weird color that is a red, but a coral, but in some light it's a hot pink.
It looks really pink to me right now, but that is not how it looked before when you sent me a picture.
It's super weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And then I have a medium gray. So her couches are this federal blue, her walls are this really light gray, and so I wanted some other, and then she has kind of pops of other colors, in that. So this was a palette that I went with. I also am not like a pink red person, so that one, that color in particular, I struggled with. Because there are things that were too dark, or too red, or too orange red, or... If I never have to see this color again, I'll be really happy. So here's how else it went. She wanted it to fit on the back of her couch, so there'd be some pops of color there. I was like, yeah, I could do that. Like a good lap Afghan that you can take a nap under, right? So not really huge. Okay, that's not how it turned out. Let's pop the picture in here so you can see how big it is. It is shown on a love seat, but it definitely, like a large love seat, but it definitely could fit on a double bed pretty easily. Maybe
not a lap blanket anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like a family of 3 could probably snuggle under it pretty easily. Maybe with a dog under there too. Like, it's big.
Okay.
But I do like how it turned out. The yarn softened really nicely. So I used a variety of yarn. I used Encore, and let me just tell you, this light gray of Encore, 6007, which I now have memorized because I've scoured it. So I didn't buy enough of the yarn initially. So when I make a machine knit blanket, what you do is I start on, when you're looking at the blanket, I start on the left side and I knit a panel that goes straight up. And then I start, and then I do an attach as you go method. So I essentially build it out to the right.
Sure.
And when you take machine knitting off of the machine itself, it shrinks in. So you have to take that into consideration. So I had the first panel on the machine and I had kind of stretched it out and I was like, this doesn't look big enough. So I added another 6 to 8 inches roughly. Yeah, it's like 6.5 feet long now. Like, and once I started adding panels, then it started to kind of relax a little bit more, to be more, and then I realized like halfway through just how big it was going to be, which is too late to actually do anything about it. So I just kept going. Okay, so the yarn is, I used Encore for the gray, the Federal Blue, and this dark, or like this medium gray. This navy is a Hayfield bonus Aran. I think I got them all together, and so is this one. So these two come in 400 gram skeins. I broke into a second ball of this one. I used something like 3,900 yards on this. So this got quite a bit of yarn on my stash, which I was very happy about. Oh, and then because I ran out of the light gray, but I still had to mirror the light gray on the other side, Cheryl got panic texts about this too. I found some Knit Pick Swish in Dove Heather, which is fairly similar, and it worked just fine. Not an exact match, but again, if you're not looking super closely at it, and it will be fine. Okay, so I ran out of yarn. There was none in the store to be found for that light gray. I did the whole thing in 5 days, which I would not recommend. So I spent 2 days knitting on the machine, and I would say those were almost full 6 to 8 hour days, which I would also not recommend. Gauge clearly wasn't consulted. So the other 3 days, I ended up making this in 2 panels just because it was getting too heavy. So I sewed, my mom and I sewed 2 together one day. She came to the shop and helped me sew them together. And you can't see that on the front, so that's fine. Then I needed to put a border on, and I was going to do an I-cord border on the machine, and an I-cord border on a machine is the only way I would ever do I-cord, but I really just wanted to be in my PJs at home watching a movie and not sitting at a machine for another 8 hours. So I did a crocheted border. So that's where you get the invisible crochet for this week. I did it once around, and I was frantically doing it on Christmas Eve because it took an hour per side to do the double crochets all around. So you can imagine, crochet goes pretty quick. So you can imagine how huge it is. So I did that, and the edge was still flipping over. And so I popped it in the washing machine when I was at my parents' house, put it in the dryer. The yarn softened up wonderfully. I really liked that. And then it was still flipping over. So that night I started adding, I got through 2 more sides, I think. And then I worked on it on the car ride down to finish it. And I wrapped it out in the parking lot. So we still needed to iron the edging. And Jill said that my aunt said she'd take care of that because I really don't want to see the thing anymore. So I learned a whole lot of lessons on my finished object. I'm going to take my time with the other blankets I want to finish. Yes.
But I would call that a success. You still managed to finish and wrap it in time.
Yes, because bringing it home with me to finish was absolutely not an option. All right, so that was my saga. Yay, gauge issues from both of us.
Yes.
What are you working on? Let's hopefully, are we having better luck in things we're working on maybe?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm feeling very good about what I'm working on. Okay, so I had wanted to have the Anders pullover for my son to wear for New Year's cards, and since he would just be swimming in it, I didn't even bother trying it on.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's just bad. So I was like, but I want him to wear a hand-knit sweater. He wore a hand-knit sweater last year, and he needs one. So I thought, okay, that one was a DK weight color work. I'll just whip up a quick worsted weight sweater.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, in his size, it's 400 to 500 yards.
You can totally do this.
No big deal. So then I was on Ravelry last weekend looking at worsted weight toddler sweaters because I didn't really have anything that was jumping out at me in my extensive queue, which I basically use as patterns I would like to knit one day as opposed to like true. And I came across, actually, I'll show you the pattern picture first. This is the Ridgeline Pullover.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, so it's worsted weight yarn. It has a textured yoke and then stockinette for the rest of it. So nice and basic, just knits and purls. This one is by Jessica McDonald, and it just came out in November, so I guess that's why it wasn't on my radar before. It just came out from when I did a targeted pattern search. So here's how far
that's so cute. I love that texture.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's kind of blown out, but you can see the texture better anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really just like ribs that are slightly offset by the increases for the yoke. And so super cute. Very pleased with this so far, and it's knitting up really quickly because it's worsted weight yarn. So I'm doing this one out of Barocco Vintage in a colorway that I just learned is called Black Cherry when I looked it up on Rav. And this is very happy knitting for me because it was a Christmas Eve yarn purchase at a brand new yarn shop. They just opened on Black Friday weekend.
Oh, wow. Brand new, indeed.
Brand new. She also dyes. It's very exciting in Hastings, Minnesota, which is where my husband and I are looking at houses. Nice. So we already wanted to move there. Now there's a yarn shop down, ready to
Even
go.
better.
They don't have a bookstore, and the Target is in the next town over, but they've got a yarn shop, so I think I'll be okay. And very cute, very tiny, but a well-curated selection of yarn, and I'm sure they're only going to continue growing their stock from here. So
nice.
Really exciting. But I do have I have what could have been sizing drama, except that I was very careful this time because I was like, this is going to fit.
Absolutely.
It's going to fit now. So like the other one, I was like, oh, if it's a little big, fine. This one, I'm like, it is a quick sweater. It is going to fit him right now.
Right. Absolutely.
I will do what I need to do. And hey, there's a schematic for this pattern. So it was a lot easier to do, a lot easier to do that. So, I used the schematic and I used a sweatshirt, like a commercial sweatshirt that already fit there. But let me tell you what, so my Anders pullover was supposed to be 24-inch chest, wound up being 26-inch.
Yep.
Right? For an 18 to 24 month. I am knitting a size 4 years on this one at a 22-inch chest, so that would be 2 inches smaller than what the Anders was supposed to be.
Sweaters.
And this matches a sweatshirt from H&M that has a 9 to 12 month tag on it.
I would just give up for kids.
So I don't know who is making any of this up because everybody's wrong. I'm certain of that. Because like I said, my kid is small for his age and I'm knitting him a 4-year sweater.
That's
what?
That's so strange. Yeah, I don't get that.
This pattern starts at 2 years. So I was like, before I even bought it, I looked at chest circumference because I thought, oh, like, you know, he's a little small. And if the sizing is a little big, I'm going to be in trouble. So I checked. And then I'm knitting the 4-year size. What? What? So everybody, check your numbers.
I think that's a great piece of advice.
Moral of that story. Check your numbers, check your gauge. I am knitting just like a quarter of a stitch smaller on this one because I liked how it looked better. So
well, and he'll probably have, you know, wear something underneath it anyway. Yeah,
it's all good.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be better than what I was doing last time. So. It's just been a super happy project. Oh, and I cast on Christmas Eve. So
you've made so much progress then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are you working on?
So the first thing that is working out for me, let's go with that, is I cast on another Windhelm. I don't even remember who it's by at this point. T-shirt maybe. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen. And I'm using the yarn called Araucania Pangapuli.
Nice.
You say it really fast.
Yes.
You might get it.
Yes.
And I really love this yarn. It's really dark. So when you look at the skein, it's fairly dark. There's quite a bit of black. One of the plies, I believe, is a black. But when you look at it, it has such beautiful depth of color. Like, I really do love this. It looks like it's crazy color, but it does actually look pretty. You can tell that there are different colors there, but it is pretty muted. So I'm just getting ready to do the decreases right now. So I did skip, because I can't do a hat pattern without modding it, complete with a colorwork hat I'm doing right now. I am following the pattern mostly on that one. I just changed the rib because I didn't read the pattern. As I do. I just chose not to put in, like, there are arches done by, like, cabling, which is a really cute detail. I just didn't feel like doing them. So that's the only thing. So this should be knitting up pretty quickly. And I do love this pattern quite a bit.
Yes. One of my favorites.
Yes. I believe there may have been a Gigi who slept on this based on the amount of fur that is currently on it. The other thing that I did was another machine knit. I know I'm going a little bit machine knit crazy right now. I just did a cowl and I just knit it flat. So I turned the machine to, I use a bulky machine. I think it's called a KH 280 brother machine. Sure. Looks good. So what I did was I turned it to the loosest tension because I wanted something a bit airy. And so you can see that this is, and I just knit until most of the skein was gone. And so it took like 15 minutes to knit, maybe. No, not even 15 minutes just to knit this thing. So it's a nice size. This is just 50 grams. This is Drops Sky, which is an alpaca wool blend. This has not been blocked. And this is in the color Pearl Gray, which does nothing for my skin tone. But alas, this is not for me. I just wanted to play. So what I did yesterday was I Kitchenered it together because you have the waist yarn at both ends, and so you can pull it out and you've got live stitches. I must have done the worst Kitchener job I have ever done in my entire life. Yeah. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you my shame. So we can see that I've got a drop stitch there. That tension, I don't know if we can see it.
Yeah, you're better than that.
Yeah, that tension is so ridiculous. So I'm putting a full, so I'll fix this dropped. Like I've got a little bit of extra yarn because I was going to maybe crochet and edging on just to help it lay flat. But I'm really hoping that blocking, it's not going to fix this. I know that. Blocking does a lot of things, but not fixing this. So I'm going to steam block it probably, I'm hoping later today, and see what it spreads out to, because I'm hoping to get it a little bit wider than this because it's going to fluff down. And then I might just do a slip stitch crochet border, like a chain on the edge, just to hopefully give it some weight and lay flat. I have a ton of this yarn, so I've just been kind of experimenting with it. I should also talk about the construction of this yarn. I love this construction.
It looked interesting.
So it is a chain. So it does have a little bit of nylon in it, which is what the chain is. So it's like a knitted tube. Let's see if I can get there. So it's in like a knitted tube, and then the alpaca is like just blown into it, maybe.
Huh.
It's a fascinating construction. But what it does is it makes a really, really light yarn. So this is about, so I'm going to just use a worsted weight. So it's about the same, width, diameter, I don't know, as a worsted weight skein. But for 50 grams, this has like 208 yards, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 207 yards.
So that's almost double.
Yeah. It's just that it is so lightweight.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting yarn to work with, and it's not one that I had worked with before. Of course it was on sale, and I bought a ton of it. It was like $1.50 or like $2. So I bought a ton of it because it's just Alpaca. I'm a sucker for alpaca. We know this.
You are.
I really am. And so I'm like, yeah, why not? Why not give it a try? And so I really do like this. I'll probably make a whole bunch more of these. I might not show them. I might just show like one final product of when it's perfected and when I, a good example of how I can Kitchener.
I believe in you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So this is a question. This series of questions is something that I posed this week to Cheryl. I love keeping stats on my knitting. I'm kind of ridiculous about it. To be honest, I do weigh skeins after I'm done with them so that I can keep track of my yardage. I also this year kept track of the number of skeins out that I used because I had a goal of 75 skeins out. We'll talk about that. I did pretty well on that. I use a free website called knitmeter.com, and I'll put a link for that below. And you can kind of set it up for whatever you want to do. It does knitting, spinning, weaving, and a couple of other things. And so it's just like a tracker is all it is. So you can put in your numbers. So I posed a whole bunch of questions and kind of stats for us to compare and just kind of see what we did. Because over the course of the year, it can be like, I don't know what I did. I don't feel like I completed a lot or something of that nature. So I like looking back at it. So should we just go through kind of one by one to see how we did? And I'm not competing with you, sure, even though I'm super competitive. This is kind of where I was last year too. So let's start with total number of FOs.
Yes. Okay. So I looked in Ravelry and I had 18 knitting projects finished this year, and that included 12 hats. So it was a very hat heavy year for me. And then it was also 2 bigger projects for me. So one was a sweater and one was my big Ashby shawl.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that I would say your Ashby is definitely like a sweater quantity of yarn too.
Yeah. It is. And then so normally I keep sort of a crafting journal outside of Ravelry since not all of my crafts are Ravelry crafts. But I didn't really keep up with it this year. So I know I had at least one sewing project. I had one small cross stitch that I just remembered now that I haven't framed yet. So I don't know if I can call that completely finished, but that's where I landed. How about you?
I had 67 finished objects. 44 were hats. Are we surprised? No, at that number of hats. But I would say I did do mostly smaller projects, and that's why I had such a high number. However, I did finish 6 or 7 blankets. So
yeah,
that I'm like, yes, I can handle that.
We both have about a 2/3 hat percentage this year.
Yes, we do. I don't think I've always had a pretty high number of hats, but this year it's much, much higher than
I bet
it's ever been. All right. How about total number of whips?
We're talking about ending the year, right? Like
yes.
Right now.
Yep.
Okay. So right now I have 5 knitting projects that are either whips or UFOs, and at least one of them I think I'm probably going to frog. And then I have just a ton of sewing ones. I haven't even bothered to count them because they're a little bit out of control right now.
So to be honest, I didn't count my whips because I have been whip shamed that I did. But I do have a laundry basket full, so a project bag. So let's just go with that.
That's one way to count things.
Yeah, I would say 20-ish, maybe 20-ish.
Sure.
And I have pulled out the ones, like frogged the ones that I want to frog, and there are some that I'm a little bit indecisive on. So yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, so your next item is yards out, and that's something that I don't keep track of.
Okay.
Most projects I do weigh yarn afterwards, but that's because I like to keep track of how much I used in a project. Yeah. So if I want to make it again, but I don't track how much yardage I use over the course of a year.
Got it.
So how about your yardage?
You can also do that in Ravelry. So if you have your stuff sorted by year, it will do that. So I did. I'm going to say that machine knitting definitely helped me out with my yardage this year. I had just over 26,000 yards, which is 14.8 miles. Which means maybe I need to take a step back at my knitting this year.
I don't think so. No, I disagree with that.
And I ended up having 144 skeins out of my stash. So even if it's a partial skein, I count it out. It goes straight into my a scrap, so I don't. Then when I use that scrap yarn, I don't count it again. So
okay, and you said your goal was 75?
Yeah.
So you did almost double your goal.
Yeah.
High five!
Yay! What are you most proud of that you did this year, or you learned this year, I should say?
So I was looking on Ravelry at what I had finished this year because it's kind of a blur.
Yes.
But when I looked a little closer, I realized I only bought yarn for 3 knitting projects this year. So I used up a lot of leftovers from my stash, which felt really, and most of them were leftovers. Like there were some that I cracked open new skeins, but most of them were like leftovers, reclaimed yarn from frog projects, that kind of stuff. So I feel really good about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you. How about yours?
I guess I'm really proud that I tried new crafts and new skills.
Yeah.
And, some of the things didn't stick, like weaving. Perfectly fine with that. And I'm really proud that machine knitting and color work stuck. I mean, like I'm kind of obsessed with color work, and I have a whole bunch of patterns now printed out that I want to work through. So I'm really proud of that. Absolutely.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I'm not ready to tackle a sweater yet, A, because it's a sweater, and B, that's a lot of color work, but I'm good. Just keep on going.
Yay.
Yeah. What was your favorite finished object?
So mine is sort of a small and silly one, but I made a fur pom-pom hat with the Lake Agassiz hat pattern I think it was my first finished object of 2018, but I love it. I think it's hilarious, and I feel very hip and happening when I wear it, and it's just awesome. So I did notice we went to a European Christmas market here in the Twin Cities earlier in December, and I noticed so many people wearing fur pom-pom hats. They're so hip and cool. So.
Yes, they are.
So I really like that one. It's a small, silly project, but it makes me happy.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I have one hat that I made for myself that does have a fur pom-pom, and it's giant and ridiculous, and it makes me very happy. Yes. Yeah. I would say mine is my Waiting for Rain. In my projects, it's called Waiting for Rain Again because it's the second time I made it. I made it out of a fingering weight yarn and used close to 1,000 yards on it. And it's a beautiful dove gray, and it really got me to tackle lace and kind of be more confident in doing lace. I wouldn't say I'm like gonna do an even star right now, but I would say I'm more comfortable with it. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Did you have a project that you didn't like very much, or like one that was a disappointment?
No, I was pretty happy with my knitting this year. Because I have less knitting time than I used to, I'm much more selective, and so I was pretty happy with it.
I think that's a really good point to make, too. You really want to work on things that you love. It's a hobby. We should love it all the time. Most of the time. We're not kitcheneering or crocheting on a border. And, anyway, sorry. I'm not really happy about obligation knitting at this point. I'm still not quite over Christmas, even though I really only knit 2 things for Christmas. So one thing I wish I had done more was to spin more. And I didn't. I spun maybe 500 yards this year, which really isn't a whole lot. And I really do love spinning. I just need to make sure I have my wheel out, I guess.
Well, and you've been trying other things too. Like you were spinning a lot before you started machine knitting, and so it's maybe,
absolutely
taking a little bit of that place.
Yes, absolutely. Though I have to say, for my machine knitting, I really just wanted to do that to get out my blanket quantities of yarn.
Yeah.
And I swear they're having babies in there. Like, I don't know where this yarn comes from. I've been very conscious of not buying more of that yarn, with the exception of this color. Because that was a specific project. I don't know where it comes from, but I have, all the blankets. Anyway.
I might need a blanket someday.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it in 5 days, though. I would say for 2018, I was pretty happy with my crafting. I'm not going to call them goals-ish, but I definitely had ideas of things I wanted to do. And I would say I'm pretty proud of that. How about you?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. My knitting mojo has gone kind of up and down over the past 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been in sort of a happy place with it this year.
That's good. Yeah. And I think that's normal that it goes up and down based on other things that are going on in your life, work, personal, etc. I agree with that. How about looking forward to 2019? So by the time this is published, it will be 2019. Happy New Year. Okay, how about looking forward to 2019? I said five goals for goals-ish ideas for 2019. And that number's totally arbitrary.
Yeah, and I said no, Katie, I'm doing what I want.
Of course. So talk me through what your goals are.
Okay, well, they're not goals, so...
Or what's your numbered list?
It's not numbered. It's got bullet points. Have you even looked at this show now?
Oh, it does have bullet points. I used numbers. I used a numbered list, not an ordered list.
I put down some things. They're not really like goals. They're just looking ahead.
Okay,
let's call it that. Real casual, like. Okay, so the first thing that I put on my bulleted list is the next big project that I have planned. So I got the Ashby shawl off my needles, and that one's done and dusted. Still have Crazy Scandinavian sitting around, but whatever.
And next Christmas.
Whatever. I'll pick it up when I feel like it. So, the next thing that I'm planning to make is I wake up really early to write my dissertation first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I should have a really cozy sweater to wear when I'm working on my dissertation.
Yeah.
Right? I should. Yep. So I was looking around for sweater patterns, and the one that I think I've landed on is the Lillian cardigan. So this is a really chill cardigan. It's long. It has pockets. It has a split hem, which like you could do with any seamed cardigan, but I don't know that I would have. So
right.
I like how it looks. It's just a nice basic cardigan. I say I'm planning on this pattern because I'm going to see how my gauge swatch turns out, because they're doing gauge on size 10.5 needles for worsted weight yarn.
Wow, that's an open gauge.
I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that. So I'm going to see how it goes when I do a gauge swatch. And I'm also doing something a little crazy for yarn. So I have 2 yarns here.
I'm going to have to hold it up higher so that you can see it better.
Yeah. So this is Blue Sky Alpacas.
Oh.
In their sport weights, and this is a cream. It is in a messy skein because this is also reclaimed sweater yarn. So this is sort of a sad story. I came across this super gorgeous, intricate lace pattern, and I was like, I'm going to wear this to my bridal shower. So I knit with this like expensive alpaca yarn. Yep. Knit, beautiful, except it didn't fit at all. And it was a one size pattern, and so I think I was maybe hoping that the one size would be my size, and it was too big.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, and so it sat around, like I completely finished it. It sat around, and I just...
No.
I know, you have a cat. So I ripped it out before my last move, and now it is just lovely.
It's a gorgeous color.
Yeah, it's just a natural. And so I decided to run this together with some Knit Picks palette in a heathered navy.
Oh.
You can't really tell that that's navy, but it is.
But that's a fingering weight then.
It's a fingering weight. And so I'm going to run the two together and hopefully get a worsted weight marled look.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see how the gauge swatch turns out, but that's what I'm planning to do, whether that turns out to be that Lillian cardigan or if I need to go to some sort of plan B.
And I think that wool from the palette will also give that some structure so that you don't end up having, an ankle length sweater. That's a beautiful sweater.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So I hope it works out. I hope that the gauge works out. And with a looser gauge, it sometimes looks sloppy and that bothers me. So we will see how it goes.
Yes. Absolutely. What else? I'm just going to have
Okay.
to go through your goals-ish. Your bulleted list. I'm sorry, your bulleted list.
Things. So my next thing is that I'm trying out different ways to stay organized with my crafting. And for a long time, I've been using Microsoft OneNote to organize things, and that's working fine. It hasn't.
Can we talk about your organizational system maybe next episode?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm switching over to a program called Trello to stay organized. So that's like one of my things for the new year is that I'm messing with a new program.
Got it.
And yeah, I'll talk about that more specifically next episode.
Cool.
Okay. Then my next thing is that I would like to get back to my sewing machine and like figure out what that looks like right now. Because I've said in previous episodes that it's just like turning out to be kind of challenging with the way that my schedule is right now to find a good time to sew. So I'm not expecting to get back to where I was pre-child, I guess. I'm not expecting to get to that because I was doing a lot of sewing then.
Right.
But I would like to be doing more than the next to zero that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, even if you did like a couple hours a month, you'd be making progress.
Exactly. So I want to like start figuring that out and get some more projects done. Yeah. And then a related thing is that right now we're in sort of like a transitional living circumstance while we're waiting to buy our first house. And so most of my crafting stuff is in storage. Definitely most of my sewing stuff. I guess I have my yarn.
Well, and so that maybe definitely adds to why you haven't done as much sewing this year. So that makes absolute sense.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Over the course of living where we are now, I've like slowly dragged things out from storage. Like
my partner gave me a print from Bob Mortimer. Bob Mortimer is a British comedian, and he, on Twitter, if you follow him on Twitter, he's very funny, but one of the things that he does is he comes up with ridiculous cat names, and you can rent them for, I think, £8 a year from him. And so there was a print like of a silhouette of a cat with all of the different some of the different names in it that you could rent. And my partner got it personalized for me. So he's framing it. He's building me a frame right now. But one of the ones that is my favorite is Greg from Admin. And we figured that one might suit Gigi the best, even though, because she likes to keep track of me. I can imagine her with a clipboard. She's sitting right here, being very calm right now. So I'm just going to encourage that.
That sounds great. Good plan.
The micromanager she is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't bite me, please.
Like, I have a lot of whips around that I'd like to finish as many of them as I can before we move, because I prefer to move either supplies or finished stuff. I don't love moving whips. It makes me kind of crabby.
Well, and it's nice to have a fresh start in a new place, right? Even if it is with your crafting as well.
Right. So I'm not making a goal to finish all of them because I'm not sure when exactly we're going to be buying and moving into a house.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, I would like to do what I can.
Absolutely. That completely makes sense.
Okay. Goals for you. I'll say top 5 goals.
So I always like to have a whole bunch of goals, and I am not bothered if I don't reach them. So I should be really clear about that. So these are going to seem like they have very specific things I need to do, but I guess I don't do a word for the year because I can't focus that much, though a great word would be to focus. So I just have some things that I would like to get done to kind of make me feel a little bit calmer. So one of them is every time right now, as I've been seeing a pattern, I've been printing it out. Like, my printer's been getting a great workout, which is nice. But do you see these? This is like a good inch.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, these are mostly hat patterns. Because I have a problem. I would like to at least knit about 20 patterns from either this folder or from my library on Ravelry. And that's going to be a challenge. Not, I have plenty of patterns. Let's just be real clear about that. It's just my ability to follow a pattern or not excessively mod it. So I'm going to be inspired by those and use elements of those patterns. Because I do
Perfect.
have a lot of great things and I might as well use them because they're there. I have wanted to knit them, so I might as well just do it. The
Great.
other thing I wanted to do was to either finish or frog 10 whips. I currently have 3 sweaters on the needle. Yeah, 3 sweaters on the needles right now, and I need to, finish the second sleeve of my weekender, or
Yes.
in addition to several pairs of socks that I just need to make the decision on,
Yeah.
My third goal is to complete a me-sized sweater. So that means complete one of those sweater whips. I'm not going to be casting on another one. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out one of those sweaters, probably start with a weekender, and just say I'm going to do an hour a week. Because do you know how you complete things? By working on them.
It's true.
It does. Like, that's kind of how it has to work. So if I even just do 1 hour a week, I can manage. I will see some type of progress.
Right.
I had a sweater goal of, not a sweater, a spinning goal of completing 6 braids of fiber. And I do have some that are half spun, that I just need to finish the other half. And I'm going to count those. So hopefully I'll come out of this year with 6 new skeins, and I'm happy with that. And then I also, I really do love the idea of trying to do a no-buy to cold sheep, but as soon as I love to rebel against myself in particular ways, and if I do a no-buy, no, I do a really good job stashing up during that time. So I've decided I want to try some new to me dyers. And so I think that might help focus my purchases a little bit. And I'm okay with that too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have glasses of champagne, but let's cheers to the
glass of water right here. Super
I got
delicate.
I'm cheersing in spirit.
Okay. Well, we would like to know if you have any goals. What are your greatest accomplishments?
Yeah.
If you have goals, if you have a bulleted list versus a numbered list, that works too. All right. Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.